Firstly, just out of, it's just information. This is the first convocation I'm attending in my life. Including my own. When Mr. Sunil Munjal's perseverance left me with no choice but to speak at today's convocation, I asked what is it that the graduating class would like to hear. The reply was, Rahul, we want you to talk about conviction and staying the course. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you. And as reticent a person as I am very pleased to be here today. I am terribly embarrassed knowing that a great part of what I may share with you today may come across as being self-serving or immodest, and I want to apologize for this in advance. The spirit is only to share with you some of the experiences at Interglobe and the learnings we got out of those experiences. Let me start with talking about our beloved country for a bit. The mystique of India continues to grow, where New Age India cohabitates alongside traditional India with amazing ease. The sacred cow and the Maybach receive equal respects on the roads of India. We were home to Mother Teresa, and we are now home to New Age goddesses like Aishwarya Rai. Age-old Ayurvedic medicine coexists with cutting-edge research and development in the area of biomedics. The prowess of India's IT and IT services industry has earned global recognition for being a knowledge-based powerhouse. The collective power of New India is fast propelling us into a whole new stratosphere of supernations. Goldman Sachs predicts that India is on its way to becoming the third largest economy in the world by 2050, next only to China and the United States of America. However, behind all this hype and hoopla, there is another India. We have the largest number of the world's poor. Compared with other nations, India has the largest illiterate population. We have vast regional disparities. Our infrastructure is woefully inadequate, and as an example, we have just 200,000 kilometers of highways in comparison to China's 1.4 million. India's energy sector appears to be more than a generation behind China. A large part of our population remains unbanked. In terms of air transport capacity, India is more than a decade behind China. In terms of information technology infrastructure, the number of fixed-wire broadband subscriptions per capita in India lags China by a decade. And the lag in terms of the number of internet users is give or take 7 years. Despite this, the promise of India is reflected by the reality for the next 20 years or so. Between 30 to 40 million young Indians like yourselves will enter the workforce every year. And our productive population group will outgrow that of China. By 2028, 64% of India's population will be in the productive group as against 62% of China's. With GDP clipping in excess of 7% a year, India is one of the fastest growing economies in the world today. Changes in the Companies Act, which made CSR contributions mandatory and also focused on public-private partnership, were a clear acknowledgement that both businesses and government will have to operate in and navigate an India which has abundant opportunity but is also fraught with serious challenges. While the coexistence of opportunity and challenge may come across like an oxymoron of sorts, it actually is exactly the opposite. Opportunity almost always thrives in the face of challenge. With this background, allow me to now share with you some of the basic fundamentals that have worked well for us at Interglobe and we continue to subscribe to these even in today's, and I want to be pardoned for my expression, dog-eat-dog business ethos. One, conviction is always the propellant for growth. Two, risk is part of the game, and as the saying goes, no guts, no glory. Three, planning and execution excellence transform goals into reality. And four, relationships with employees and partners will always be more powerful than balance sheets. Conviction has always remained at the forefront of Interglobe's journey. On a few occasions, we have led a market opportunity, and at other times, we have paused to read a market opportunity before investing in it. We have consistently believed in the long-term potential of India as it relates certainly to our industry, as well as in our ability to be able to harness it to the greatest extent possible. Our investment in establishing a franchise for Galileo, which is a travel technology distribution platform, which we did about 2 decades ago, came at a time when there was, again in the context of India, still a doubt over the feasibility of a technology-driven future in travel. In partnership with Accor, we led a market opportunity by responding to the need to change the equation of fly inexpensive, stay expensive, by committing ourselves to investing in what we like to call no-frills chic business hotels under the brand of ISB. For those of you who may not be familiar, until a decade ago, India either offered luxury accommodation or run-down guest houses, which were at best a glorified version of bed and breakfast places. A standardized value-for-money hotel offering was non-existent in this country. We believe that our initiative holds a very powerful value proposition for the Indian middle class, which is currently around 270 million and is likely to more than double over the next decade. We paused and read a market opportunity before we decided to bring up the rear of mass air transportation in India by launching Indigo. There is a good old saying, जब खुदा मेहरबान तो गधा भी पहलवान. By the grace of God, we also seem to have had the good fortune of taking well-considered risks. In 2005, we created history by placing an order for 100 Airbus A320 family aircraft. And it was the single largest aircraft order by any startup airline in the world. Thank you. We then followed this up by being the launch customer for the new fuel-efficient Airbus A320neo, thank you, family aircraft, and placed an order for 180 of these in 2011. And more recently, in 2014, we ordered another 250 of these aircraft, bringing up Indigo's outstanding order book to 430 A320neo family aircraft. In the history of commercial aviation, this represents the single largest aircraft order by any airline globally. Here's a stunning statistic. Indigo currently operates a fleet of 106 aircraft, and it is expected to take delivery of 1 aircraft, give or take every 9 days between now and 2027. Given the airline's planned production increase, we are well positioned to embrace the market growth that we envision over the next decade. When it came to Accor, we looked through the tea leaves of the previously aborted partnership attempts in India and once again took a conscious leap of faith because we believed that they were the right partner to enable us to proliferate our country with a value for money hotel proposition. Today, the Interglobe Accor joint venture offers just under 8,000 rooms, by far the largest number of rooms in the economy segment in our country. They say hindsight is sharper than foresight. However, the key to success is to be able to see the future today and get it right the first time. As an industry, we had to surmount the 9/11 challenge and plan for the future in a manner that would, to the extent possible, mitigate our pain in the unfortunate event of yet another world event. At Interglobe, we recognize the need to broad base our portfolio of businesses, both horizontally and vertically. We took our core competence of aviation and travel technology services beyond the shores of India to 4 other continents, and within India, we started to explore other travel-related initiatives. With Indigo and Interglobe Hotels, we transformed our business from being a pure service provider to include asset-based businesses. However, no amount of planning is worth anything if it is not backed by good execution. Planning and execution excellence, to our mind, is a key contributor to success. Let me give you a small example of planning. When Indigo placed the order for the 100 planes in 2005, the industry was generally of the view that we were sort of brain dead because Indigo was much too late entering the market and the sheer magnitude of our order book was a suicidal move. A few years later, the realization dawned that Interglobe's delivery stream was worth its weight in gold as the order books for both Airbus and Boeing, especially for single-aisle aircraft, were bursting at the seams. Rapid induction of planes helped Indigo jump the queue and achieve critical mass faster than anybody could possibly imagine. I'm going to share a story with you which I never forget to mention. So there are these 2 boys out in the jungle someplace, and they have an encounter with a tiger. And the tiger's looking at them, and they're looking at the tiger, and slowly the tiger starts to walk towards these 2 boys. So they turn around, and they start to run for their lives. While they're running, one of these guys stops in his tracks and starts to open his backpack. And this other fellow says, "What are you trying to do?" He said, "Well, I'm just trying to take out my sneakers." He says, "You got to be kidding me. You think you can outrun the tiger?" He says, "No." He says, "All I'm trying to do is outrun you." Interestingly, even though there was a fair bit of skepticism about Indigo taking flight, we took our own time negotiating with the aircraft and engine manufacturers, and Indigo actually flew its maiden flight more than 2 years after securing the approval from the Government of India. The reasons for this were simply twofold. Firstly, we knew that the longer-term opportunity was not running away. And secondly, we wanted to execute the launch and subsequent growth of Indigo as flawlessly as possible. For us, the game is not about flying a handful of planes. It is about building a massive network over time, and this clearly puts enormous pressure on the quality of execution. Like to say, more often than not, there never are those 1 or 2 big moves that make or break institutions. God is in the detail. Successful companies tend to break down every process into several small processes and then commit themselves to executing each of these small processes better than the best in the business. And thereby you create collective arbitrage, which actually is a very powerful proposition. Systems and procedures that need to be put in place not only have to be good for today, but robust enough to withstand the stress of longer-term growth. Another mantra which I would like all of you to take away today is that one of the most critical enablers for success are employees. To find people who have the basic competence to execute their day-to-day responsibilities is sort of easy. But to find people who have a fine balance between competence and commitment to service excellence, we think is a much more daunting task. However, companies that do find people with this unique blend differentiate success from failure and end up winning the game. And mind you, winning is not about being good. It is about being the best in class in the global arena. Once again, I do want to apologize for this unintended consequence of what may seem like a marketing pitch for fresh graduates from ISB. But since we are talking about people, Indigo was just adjudged the Best Employer 2016 by Aon, and earlier this month, Interglobe, the parent company, was ranked 17th amongst the top 25 best places to work in the Asia-Pacific region by the Great Place to Work Institute. Thank you. We at Interglobe take great pride in enduring relationships. Partnerships where there is a clear understanding and respect for the unique value each constituent brings to the table is one of the most powerful ingredients in any formula for success. Rakesh Gangwal, the co-founder of Indigo, is someone I've known for almost 30 years. Early on in the planning phase of Indigo, I had made one commitment to myself. If Interglobe did ever launch an airline, it would only happen in partnership with him. Otherwise, we would simply not do it. The reason for this was quite elementary. In all the years we have been involved with the airline industry, I have personally not come across another individual, and I mean this at a global level, who is nearly as capable as Rakesh. The confluence of Indigo's 12,500 employees, Rakesh's fundamental understanding of the airline business, and Interglobe's unrelenting belief in the Indian opportunity in terms of commercial air transportation, together with our resolve to contend with the challenges of doing business in our country, is what makes the airline tick. 729 times a day, day in and day out, every single day. Similarly, Accord's understanding of owning and managing hotels, we at Interglobe can't learn in a lifetime. Interglobe's understanding, on the other hand, of what it takes to do business in India, from buying a piece of land to constructing a hotel on it and getting it to open for business, traversing through a maze of regulatory approvals, Accord cannot learn in a lifetime either. However, the combined strength of the two organizations in the context of building a significant hotel network in India is again a very powerful thing. I started off in life in much the same manner as all of you are about to. In my wildest dreams, I could not have imagined that I would be doing some of the things I do today. In this journey of mine, the learning which stands tall is to have the honesty of purpose in whatever it is that one pursues, and to have the resolve to do the right thing. Taking shortcuts in life may offer momentary pleasure, but I can assure you that the rewards of being honestly purposeful and doing the right thing not only stand the test of time, but come in more ways than one can possibly imagine. In conclusion, I would like to share with you something someone had mentioned to me once, which has remained with me. Imagine an acrobat training to be a trapeze artist. Because of the mortal fear of missing the trapeze and falling, the acrobat trains with the insurance of a safety net. Over time, the acrobat gets to be better and better, until one day he gains the confidence to soar like an albatross, and the fear of falling simply vanishes. I would like the graduating class today to compare itself to someone who didn't have the good fortune of being educated. Like an acrobat who doesn't have a choice but to run the risk of learning to be a trapeze artist without a safety net. You must consider yourselves extremely privileged to have a safety net in the form of great education from a premier institution like ISB. Congratulations to all of you, and go out there and learn to soar fearlessly. Thank you.